Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I've had to do this introduction 3 times. This is the 3rd time of me doing this introduction. I have a fuzzy 2-week-old right here, and I have a 3-year-old who is whining somewhere throughout the house. I wanted to do a quick intro just so I can get into the story because I feel like it's a lot. But I wanted to sit down and kind of walk you guys as far as how my delivery went and everything. And I wanted to introduce baby real quick because she is currently awake, wide awake. She just drank some cheche, some milk, and now she's just kind of laying here looking all cute and stuff. So I was like, oh, might as well film now and kind of walk you guys through everything that I went through.
And don't forget to do
So yeah, so first of all, here's baby girl. She is officially 2 weeks old.
And
as we all know, this is big brother. He loves her very, very much. Baby girl is officially now 9 pounds. She's gone up really, really fast in weight. She was born on the 29th of July, and she was 20 inches, and she was 7.8. So yeah, she was 7.8 pounds. She was born at 3:05 p.m. 3:05, yeah, I'm never gonna forget that. 3:05. 3:05. We live in Miami, so. Alright, so let's get kind of started on how it happened. Because I was scheduled for a C-section July 31st. Because with my son, I had a C-section because he last minute decided to move his head and got stuck. So they ended up rushing me to a C-section to get him out to make sure that he was okay. Which is fine by me. My priority was for him to be okay. So I was scheduled to go in on Friday to have a C-section. Well, baby girl had other plans. It was Tuesday at 11. So the 28th at 11 p.m. I started feeling kind of weird. And mind you, with my son, I never broke water. I went into the hospital because I was having contractions every 2 minutes. And I went into the hospital on a Sunday, and I was supposed to get induced on a Monday. And my doctor was like, oh, you're only a centimeter, but you know what? We'll leave you and we'll just start the induction process today. So that's why they left me. If not, they would have sent my ass back home. So Tuesday night, roughly around 10:30, 11, I started feeling kind of weird. My body was out of whack. I fell out of whack. I kept on going to the bathroom like every 2 minutes. And mind you, when you're pregnant in your last trimester, you're already peeing like 1,000 times. But I was going to the bathroom every minute. Like I would go, I would pee, I would leave, I would have to come back because I would feel just water. You know, I'm gonna eat a Cheeto Puff. These things are addicting. So, mind you, again, with my son, I didn't break my water, so I had no idea what that felt like. So I kept on going in and out of the bathroom, and my husband's looking at me. He's like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And I'm like, I don't know. It's so strange. And then all of a sudden, the contractions started hitting, and I went from 0 to 100 in a matter of 1.1 second. Might be exaggerating, but that's exactly how it felt. And later, I come to find out from one of the nurses that actually, when your water breaks, your contractions are completely different. Like they go from 0 to 100 faster. And I was like, huh, lovely, lucky me. So we get in there. I'm feeling all sorts of weird. I come out of the bathroom and I look at I come out of the bathroom and I go to my husband. I'm like, I think I'm leaking amniotic fluid. I think I'm in in labor? And he looks at me. Mind you, it's Tuesday. I'm supposed to have a C-section on Friday. And he looks at me, he goes, what the hell do we do? And I'm like, I think we have to go to the hospital. He's like, oh my God. I'm like, mind you, it's 11. So I pretty much held it out. Like, I was like, oh, you know, might as well stay at home, chill for a little bit. Just because my water breaks doesn't necessarily mean that I have to like run to the hospital and, you know, whatever. And I was like, oh, let me gather last minute things, do all sorts of things, whatever. Mind you, these contractions were really, really, really bad. So I'm kind of walking around the house. I'm like, oh, I can handle it. I can hold off. You know, what if I show up in the hospital and nothing's wrong? We just wasted the trip. By 1 in the morning, I was done. By 1 in the morning, I was exhausted. I was done. So my husband calls my mom, who she was gonna take care of my son, calls her, wakes her up, tells her, hey, you need to come over. My mom immediately, like within 30 minutes, my mom was there. So we kind of set her up. Obviously my son was already sleeping, so we kind of set her up everything that she needed to make sure he was okay for the next couple of days. And then we pretty much got in the car. We grabbed all of our bags and we got in the car. By now it's like 2 in the morning. We get to the hospital. I'm dying, and this is the funniest thing in the world. Mind you, I've gone through these contractions before, like I know the pain. So we walk into the hospital, and obviously because of all of this COVID outside, they're testing you, they're asking you questions, and I'm there in excruciating pain. And all of a sudden, a couple rolls up behind us. Same reason that we were there. So I have baby girl down here, trying to make sure she doesn't get too fuzzy throughout this video. She's been a really good baby though. So whatever, a couple rolls up behind us, and mind you, I am hunched over in contraction pain. Can barely walk. My husband is supporting me. I'm digging my nails into his arm every minute, every 2 minutes. I don't even know at that point. And they come up behind us, and I walk in, or I walk up to the nurse. The nurse takes my temperature, asks me the questions, and tells me to sit down. Mind you, this is all outside. And I sit down, and they're coming up with like 3 roll-on like suitcases. And he walks up to them, and she goes, oh, I'm in labor. And I'm here looking at her, I'm like, bitch, if you were in labor, you'd look like me. And I'm dying, and I look at my husband, and he goes, she's not in labor, honey. She can't be in labor because look at you and look at her. She looks great. And I'm like, gee, thanks. So I am in excruciating pain, and she's there like, and I'm like, so they bring us in. They take us obviously straight into triage, and they immediately obviously test me because I tell them, oh, I feel like I think I'm leaking amniotic fluid. I think my water broke. So they immediately test me, and the nurse was like, yes, 100% your water broke. Congratulations, you're getting admitted. And in my head, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm supposed to be having a C-section. What the heck do I do? So my husband, he tells the nurse, hey, look, she's supposed to get induced. What do we do? And they're like, oh, we have notes here because my doctor had sent them over that she wanted to try a Vbac, which yes, it did. And my husband was like, yes, and I'm there through the contractions going like, yes. So they admit us into the room, and they go, let's see if you've dilated. This bitch right here is 1 centimeter still. Mind you, I was 2 weeks in 1 centimeter, and these contractions were coming like there was no tomorrow. These contractions were having absolutely no pity on me. Giving him some cheese puffs so he can like chill. So the nurse checks me. She's like, oh, you're 1, but your water broke, so obviously you're here, so we're gonna set you up with all your liquids. They set me up with my IVs. They set me up with everything I need, right? Which, by the way, IVs, I think I still have the mark somewhere around there. So whatever. Trying to keep her nice and relaxed. Maybe about an hour after, my doctor comes in, and it wasn't the doctor that actually delivered her. It was just the doctor that was there on call. Very, very good doctor. I had never met him because he was just helping my doctors. Because I have a group of them. But he was just helping my doctors, filling in. So he comes in and he checks me and he goes, so you're at a 4. And I died of happiness. I was like, oh my God, does this mean I might potentially be able to do my Vbac? Because I did not want to do a C-section. Imagine having a C-section with all that pain and then running around a 3-year-old and taking care of a newborn and handling a new house. I would have died. I would have been, no, that's it. I'm done. Forget it. So what were I don't know. So he checks me, whatever. I'm at a 4. And yeah, fussy baby over here. So he's like, oh good, you know, I read your file. I see that you did want to do a VBAC. Are you still interested? And I'm here like, he's like, awesome, okay, perfect. So you are dilating. He's like, are you gonna want your epidural? And for those who know me, I am a weak little shrimp. Okay, I don't handle pain very well. Pain and we just don't. It's not my thing. So I was like, yes, please. Call him up. Let's go. So the anesthesiologist comes in maybe about an hour, maybe 30 minutes to an hour afterwards. They tell my husband to leave the room, which sucks. It is the worst feeling in the world having to have an epidural by your damn self. Oh, it's miserable. But the nurse comes in, the nurse stands in front of me, she held my hand, and then the anesthesiologist did, you know, their magic. This epidural, I don't want to call it weak, but it was garbage, 100%. Now, I didn't feel the actual like procedure. It was pretty good. Obviously, you feel like the initial pinch because that's the numbing, and afterwards you're good to go. But I didn't feel it. It was perfect. She did it. Cool, awesome. I was an hour. I want to say maybe about 3 hours later. I was feeling everything, every pain, every contraction, everything at all I was feeling, and I was miserable. It was horrible. I didn't know what to do. They called the anesthesiologist back into my room because I was in excruciating pain, and I was roughly about 5 centimeters, and I was dying. So my doctor comes in, the nurses come in, and they go, what's going on? I'm like, I'm in excruciating pain. They're looking at me like, it's impossible for you to be in excruciating pain. You had your epidural less than 4 hours ago. And I'm like, oh, look at the screen, look at my face, and you tell me if I'm not in excruciating pain. They're like, are you sure you're not feeling pressure? I know the difference between pressure and pain. Thank you very much. And then you always want to be nice to your nurses. First of all, they're there doing their job. It's not their fault you're in pain. You decided to get pregnant. But at the same time, when they ask you, are you sure you're not feeling pressure? You want to stab somebody in the throat with that same IV. So I'm like, no, I'm in pain. So the anesthesiologist comes in. They're like, oh, have you been clicking your button? I'm like, yes, I've been clicking every motherfucking button and I'm still in pain. So they're like, oh, what we can do is we can top you off. And I'm like, I don't care what you do as long as you take away the pain. And so the anesthesiologist tops me off, which pretty much just puts another injection to my back to kind of, what it's called, top me off. Okay, cool, the pain goes away. 2 hours later, the pain is back. And mind you, I am at 7 centimeters, and I stopped progressing. So for an hour, no, not even for an hour, I want to say for a good 3 or 4 hours, I was at a 7. And I was terrified because my son got stuck at 7.5 centimeters. In my head, I'm like, I cannot go through all of this pain to end up in another C-section. I was terrified. The thoughts just kept rushing. I'm like, oh my God, she's gonna get stuck too, just like he did. What am I gonna do? So my doctor comes in, she checks me, tells me, hey, you're still at a 7. Looks at me and goes to the nurse, let's give her the peanut. And I was like, I will do whatever. I don't care what you do, give me. I will move my damn self. Mind you, Every 2 hours, the anesthesiologist is coming into my room to top me off because the epidural is wearing off. Ridiculous. I didn't experience that with my son. With my son, after I got the epidural, I even laid down and slept. Like, I slept for like 4 hours after my son's epidural. With this, I couldn't do that. I couldn't even close my eyes for 15 minutes. Every 2 hours, the contractions were unbelievable. So every 2 hours, the anesthesiologist is coming in, topping me off because the pain is unbearable. She literally comes in, she goes, if the pain continues, we're gonna have to redo the epidural. And I'm like, I don't wanna redo the epidural. Like, there's a lot of risks that come with epidurals. And I, obviously, you know, you gotta take that into account. And she's like, I understand, but we can't keep topping you off, you know, because that's a lot of medicine that we're pumping into you. And I'm sitting there, or I'm laying there, and I am just miserable. I have the peanut between my legs, and I can turn myself, which you shouldn't be able to do because you're not supposed to feel the bottom half of your body. But I'm turning myself from side to side just to make sure that I'm somewhat progressing. Maybe about, I want to say an hour and 45 minutes after, I'm looking at this clock and I'm like, my husband's sitting next to me and I'm holding his hand and I'm like, in 15 minutes, in like 20 minutes, this pain is gonna come back and I don't think I'm gonna be able to handle it anymore. Like, I don't think I'm gonna be able to just keep doing this. Mind you, at this point, I was drained. Just pain-wise, I was drained. We hadn't slept. We were exhausted. And I legit looked at my husband and I said, if the pain continues, I'm not gonna be able to make it. He looks at me, he goes, no, you got this. Let's wait until the doctor comes in. Maybe you've progressed. Mind you, I have been on the peanut now for like 4 hours. My doctor comes in, and I cannot say enough good things about her. She was absolutely amazing. My doctor comes in, she checks me, and she's like, you're a 9. We're gonna get you to that 10. And in a matter of 2 seconds, she's turning around to the nurse and goes, break apart the bed. We're gonna have a baby right now. And in my head, I'm freaking out. I'm dying. Mind you, again, I had a C-section before, so I don't know what to expect from this. And I remember the only thing I asked my doctor at that moment was, when is the pain going to stop? And she looks at me, she goes, the moment this baby's out. So the sooner you do it, the sooner you're better. And I was like, let's go. My senses kicked into overdrive. My head kicked into overdrive. Everything kicked into overdrive. And all I remember my doctor saying is push through the contraction. Push through it so that you don't feel it. So my doctor's screaming at me at this point. My husband is obviously on one side holding one leg, the nurse is holding the other. I don't remember half of anything except my doctor screaming at me. At one point, I think I asked if I pooped. According to my husband, I did. I don't remember at all asking that question. I think I was just in such a mindset of this baby needs to come out that all I remember is just pushing through the contraction so that I didn't have to feel the pain of the contraction. So my doctor looks at me, she goes, let's try this 2 more times, but she's not coming out. And I was like, so like I give 2 more pushes, and mind you, or technically 2 more sets of 3 pushes, and I give everything, every last inch of strength that I have left in my body. And she's like, okay, so she's not coming out, we're gonna use the kiwi. Mind you, at that point, I heard kiwi, and in my head, I'm like, what the hell is a kiwi? I had no idea what a kiwi was. All I knew is that I needed this baby to get out of me so that I could stop going through pain. So the doctor sets everything up, whatever she has to do. Mind you, I'm still going through contractions, so I'm still feeling everything. And then I feel my doctor goes and she cuts me. So she did cut me so that I wouldn't tear. I'm very thankful. And she goes, let's go. You're gonna do 1 more push and this baby's gonna come out. And I was like, all right, I mean, hey, let's go for it. So again, we do a whole set of pushes and baby comes out. and I hear her crying, and all I can think is the pain is over. They immediately, like, they give her to me. I'm all obsessed, obviously, with my child. I'm giving her kisses, I'm smothering her. They go, okay, so apparently she drank some amniotic fluid on the way out, so the nurses get her and take her to the station to make sure they clear her out, make sure she's good and ready to go. And my doctor goes, okay, so one more push, you know, we're gonna get out the placenta. And I was like, all right, awesome, cool. She goes, this push is nothing compared to the other ones, it's just a small little and I'm here like, I was perfect because I wasn't feeling any pain anymore. And I was like, all right, cool. So I go, and placenta comes out. My doctor's like, all right, cool, we're gonna, you know, we're gonna clean you up, we're gonna get you there, we're gonna do it. And then she's like, all right, so now I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna sew you up. My doctor goes to start stitching and I jump because I felt, oh my God. She looks at me, she goes, are you feeling this? And I'm like, mm-hmm. She goes, what did this epidural do? And I'm like, absolutely nothing. It did nothing. It's nothing. It's garbage. So she gives me an injection just to kind of numb the area. Whatever. She finishes. Everything's done. She looks at me. She goes, congratulations. You had a successful Vbac. And I was like, I died. I died. Then they obviously brought me baby girl after they had already, you know, kind of, you know, taken out all the amniotic fluid and all that stuff. They had to monitor her for a little bit because she did drink a lot. And then my doctor looks at me, she goes, so the reason why she took so long to come out was because she was flipped upwards. So she was looking up instead of down, which is where babies are supposed to look. She goes, if she would have been looking down with how little she was, you would have been able to push her out in like 3 pushes. And I was like, why do my children all give me headaches? One got stuck. This one's looking up, like she wants to look up, looking at, I don't know, the ceiling, the lights. It was interesting. Yeah, baby. So, but yeah, the biggest thing with the kiwi was her head. And like the doctor was like, oh, she'll be fine. And yeah, she has a perfect little head already. There were no issues. I want to say by like 4 days, her head was perfect. There were no issues. They didn't give us any problems. But yeah, that was pretty much it. She did have jaundice, so we had to go home with a billy blanket, which was an issue because her jaundice kept going up and nothing was stopping it. Not the billy blanket, nothing. Finally, it eventually went down. I want to say by Monday, it had already gone down. So our pediatrician was like, oh, you don't need to use the billy blanket anymore. And she does have another appointment Friday. So, but yeah, that is pretty much my labor and delivery story of a successful Vbac, which I wasn't expecting. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that happened. It was, I can honestly say, and I'll do a video as far as like postpartum recovery, but I can honestly say, comparing my natural labor to my C-section, natural all the way as far as the recovery goes. 100%, no questions, no thoughts about it. The natural recovery is 1,000 times better than my C-section one. So I'm very, very happy and I'm very grateful for my doctors. They were absolutely incredible. I can't say enough good things about her. She was amazing. And now, like I said, baby girl is 2 weeks officially, and she is a spitting image of her brother. If they would have been born at the same time, they would have been twins. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is kind of a longer video, and I'm sorry for all the interruptions throughout it. There's a lot going on, as you can hear. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. I will continue to do updates on baby girl. My next video should be an empty house tour, so that's exciting. And then I'll do some updates on baby girl as well as a postpartum video the moment I feel 150%. Because right now I'm at 100, but I usually run at 150. So the moment I am 150, I will do a video on that. Don't forget to subscribe so you can follow along with the journey. And I will catch you in my next video.